Please be seated. Now we're used to, as it says in the middle of our lesson today, to hearing parables from Jesus. It's a great characteristic, and we're used to listening for them. But today's gospel has a kind of parable that's different than the others. Usually a parable is a story drawn from regular life, which then has some kind of a twist at the end, which is not normal. And that's to get your attention. And then you can see something of a different world. Now we have the same basic thing going on in today's gospel, but in reality, he's handling this a different way. Because the first thing that he tells the story about is, as a parable, doesn't really have a twist at the end. I mean to say that the first story he tells about invited to a banquet, and it's not, it's not like a parable. This happened one occasion. He says, you see, if you take the first place and your host didn't put you there, then you could be really embarrassed when he comes along and has somebody else to take your place. This person's supposed to sit here, up here by me. And then you'd be really embarrassed and put down, really. But rather, if you don't take that first place, you sit off a little ways, then he could come to you and lead you up to the place of honor. And then you would be raised up. So this first story is kind of drawn from regular life. Even now, we know this kind of thing happens. I know that in our culture, we're much more aggressive about trying to take the first place. And we have a certain values about it's a good thing to grab the first place and to boast of who you are and that kind of thing. But we still know it's, not only is it bad manners, but it often, if you look at it the right way, is really silly. When somebody says, that's all I'm going to say on that. But we do know, I know we're more aggressive about it than perhaps in Jesus' time. And yet we do know that when you try to put yourself way above what you've been given, you're likely to end up feeling rather embarrassed and put down. So, in a way, where's the twist there? There isn't one. It's a wise thing. It's a wisdom story, If you humble yourself, you'll be exalted. But if you exalt yourself, you're going to be humbled. It's long in the Bible, long in the scriptures, lots of other stories. Proverbs, which we had the very shortest first reading I've ever heard of. But it's already there. So where's this twist going to come from? Well, he's told the story now and done his usual thing of drawing a lesson from it. The second thing is a kind of parable, but it's strange. It's not a parable, well, this happened one time, and see what happened, see what the result was. No, he's telling a kind of parable. He's actually in the form of giving advice to his host. But it's a kind of future parable. Now, if this happens, you'll find something out. So he says to him, when you give a great meal, don't invite the usual people, your friends, rich people in town, relatives, in case, and here's the funny part, he's saying, here's a warning about inviting people. If you invite those people, You might get rewarded, as if that's a warning. That's where the twist comes. Because he does mean to say to this guy, be careful. Don't just invite the people that can be to your advantage, because you might get the advantage. As if, beware, don't do that. And then he says, no, reverse it all. Reverse it all. And invite those who can't possibly be of any benefit to you. And I know he says at the very end, you'll be rewarded in the resurrection of the righteous. But in a way, that's the new world. That's the kingdom that is not yet here. It's going to come here, though. The kingdom is going to come by this strange act of being very careful not to invite somebody who could benefit you and inviting those who are of no use to you whatsoever. That's what he's saying is the entryway of the kingdom. The entryway of the kingdom. Now, back to our real life, my real life. Even when I do something for the poor or the homeless, we all know, if we're honest with God in our prayer time before God, our motives are mixed. We get some benefit. We think of ourselves as doing a good thing, which is, of course, it's a benefit in a way. You could even think of yourself as safe. Jesus says, be careful if you get rewarded, but we might think, if I get some reward internally, then that be more secure, And we do that. But we also know that we intentionally and by great plan or not, we tend to associate and reach out to and socialize with and interact with in business those who can be of advantage to me. We know we do that. So he's saying reverse that totally. He does it in a really striking way, but I know that I'm not going to really reverse that totally. You got my attention. Oh, yeah. And it's there to tell me something. But it's not there to tell me, you'll never be able to do this, you fool, or whatever. That's not what he's trying to do. He's trying to get my attention. And he does get my attention and hopefully yours today with that strange thing, beware in case you get rewarded for what you do. And it shocks us. Well, there is, in fact, a giving that doesn't count on any reward. That's God's grace. God is the one who, in fact, gives out. And not only does not God maybe expect reward, but we know very well that God doesn't get reward. I mean, if we're pious and trying to be a good Christian, we're going to pray and so forth. But the fact is, if you look at the whole Bible, God chose a people and rescued them. And over again, they mess up and rush off and worship some idol or doubt that God's going to do anything more for them. So the story in the Bible is that God does give, and God does not get repaid. God does not get repaid. So who is it that's telling us these things today, right here in our midst? It's Jesus. Jesus is going to give us himself in the Eucharist. And he already is giving himself right now through the word of this gospel and the rest of the scriptures. It is God who gives without reward. And what Jesus is telling us is that mixed and imperfect as we may be, there is an entryway into that kingdom. It is here right now. There is an entryway. And that entryway is to see things reversed for just a moment, to see the point of his second part of the gospel today. The entry point is, oh my goodness, what a way to think about everything. That's the entry point. He gives us that. Do we become perfect saints? Well, not right away, probably. Not right away. That's not the point. The point is that's the entryway. If you want to really experience that God gives you without hope of reward, without a transaction between you and God, us and God, then begin to imagine yourself actually doing something like he told the guy, the man who invited him to dinner. When you are giving something, don't try to get a reward. Oh, our mind is first shocked, and then maybe a spark comes. And that's the entry point. God is going to give us without expecting our reward to God. But we are being shown the way to join God in that. Not being demanded that we enjoy. You got to do this perfectly, otherwise, whatever. No, he's shocking us in order to get our attention and to see this little tiny crack in our dark room. It says, this is the gospel. This is the kingdom. And that's what we hear, and that's what we receive. That little poke of light that shows us something way beyond what we're used to. Amen.